BC's out-of-control wildfires this Tuesday night. The race to escape fast-moving flames and the hundreds of homes lost.
Burned completely to the ground.
Smoldering ruins in Spokane, Washington, the arrest made, and how the city's wildfires became so disastrous. Heather Yourex-West is there tonight. Fresh lawsuits aimed at stopping the U.S. president's tariffs.
Trump is pushing that authority much farther than any president in history.
Plus, a simple breath test that could detect breast cancer.
It's very exciting to see a new technology.
The study that is expanding into Canada.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Explosive and extremely dangerous. That is how wildfires raging in British Columbia are being described by provincial officials. Thousands of people have already fled because of the flames and more than 200 homes have burned. There are 60 out-of-control fires burning across BC, and the one near Vernon, north of Kelowna, is of great concern. It's already ripped through a First Nations community. Fires have also devastated parts of southeastern Washington state. We will get to that in just a moment, but we begin with Angela Jung, who is in Vernon, BC. Angela.
It is hazy out, with smoke still lingering in the air. And now the scale of this wildfire devastation is slowly coming into focus. Flames racing towards the road. Amber Cardenas had just moments to evacuate.
Once that wind shift just happened, it just like a roll, just like a bowling ball would just win and wouldn't stop. Volunteer firefighters were going door to door telling people to leave.
She's been living on Okanagan Indian Band land for more than a decade.
Our whole world turned upside down.
Her home, now unrecognizable,
was burned completely to the ground.
The chief of the Okanagan Indian Band says the wildfire destroyed an estimated 230 properties, at least 30 of them belonging to band members. He got a bird's eye view from a helicopter tour.
It looked like a war zone. It was hard to recognize my community from the air with all the structures and the forests gone.
While we could not access the devastation on bandland, on the north end of Okanagan Lake, we could see how the inferno leveled these lakefront properties.
This is really off the charts as far as anything I've ever witnessed on the ground.
Jeff Moore, a retired forestry firefighter, stayed behind to protect his longtime vacation property until it became clear it was time to escape.
We were holding our own, but homes around me began to start on fire. It changed the whole game.
In the light of day, the devastation is unmistakable. A 2-kilometer stretch of homes gone. Chief Dan Wilson says this has without a doubt changed his community, adding there will be difficult days ahead and recovery won't happen overnight. He says they're focused on supporting families and taking things one day at a time. Donna?
Okay, Angela Jung in Vernon, BC. Thanks. Across the border from BC and Washington state, 3 fierce fires have consumed hundreds of homes and businesses, and they forced tens of thousands of people to flee. It is so hot and dry and windy that crews have been unable to bring those fires under control. Authorities say at least 6 of the fires in the state are human-caused, and a 37-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of starting one of them. Heather Yourex-West is in Spokane, Washington tonight.
Donna, 4 days in, many evacuees are still waiting on word about the homes just beyond the barricade behind me. But for some, the very worst news has already been confirmed, with entire neighborhoods razed to the ground.
The aerial view tells the devastating tale. Taken Sunday with hot spots still smoldering, this drone video supplied to Global News shows home after home lost. Officials now estimate the Spokane area fires have destroyed more than 700 buildings. Evacuee Jesse Hendrickson says he's still waiting to find out if one of them is his home.
I heard the evacuating with this big microphone. Evacuate, evacuate, come out. Went out there and he said, you got to leave right now. So here I am.
Since Saturday, several hundred of Spokane's most vulnerable have taken shelter here at the city's convention center. After several days displaced, stress levels are very high.
This particular shelter received a lot of evacuees, particularly from adult family homes that were in the area. And so this is a facility that is taking care of not just a general population, but folks who have more acute medical needs.
Late Monday, Spokane County officials announced the arrest of Aaron Farnacci, accused of starting the Old Trails fire. The 37-year-old now faces a first-degree arson charge.
As it happens in so many critical cases, it was citizens who were paying attention to their surroundings, being aware and willing to step up and say something that led to the relatively quick apprehension of Mr. Farnacci.
Cooler temperatures and light winds helped firefighters again Tuesday, though the 3 Spokane area blazes are still burning out of control.
The region is currently experiencing very poor air quality, with temperatures expected to climb to the high 30s by midweek. Officials stressing the fire threat is far from over. Donna?
Okay, Heather Yourex-West in Spokane, Washington. Thanks. With me now is our global news meteorologist, Anthony Farnell. Anthony, we know one man has been arrested on suspicion of arson in Spokane, but what caused the fires there to become so catastrophic?
Good evening, Donna. The location of those fires being so close to a major population center had something to do with it, but also something called the crossover rule, the 30-30-30 crossover. And the fires started right as the temperature was going above 30 degrees, the relative humidity below 30%, and we had 30 to 50 km/h winds. So that crossover rule, when it happens, it can lead to just erratic and extreme fire behavior. We had it in Washington State and Oregon. We also had it on Saturday across parts of southern BC. And 2 of the 3 criteria will be met again tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. Very hot conditions here, not a drop of rain. One thing lacking is the stronger winds. Thankfully for some, but for others, not having much wind flow has led to smoke getting into the Fraser Valley, getting into the skies over Vancouver. This via satellite, you can definitely see the smoke conditions, and it'll be that way again on Wednesday. The winds are eventually going to change this week. That should push the smoke away from Vancouver, but also could lead to more erratic fire behavior later in the week.
Okay, Global News meteorologist Anthony Farnell, thank you.
24 inches of water down here.
The city of St. Catharines, Ontario, is under a state of emergency after heavy rainfall caused extensive flooding. 2 back-to-back rainstorms dropped more than 140 millimeters of rain on the city and the surrounding region in less than a week. The mayor of St. Catharines says thousands of homes have suffered some level of flood damage. The city is asking the provincial and federal governments for disaster relief. With the latest tariff threat from the Trump administration looming, the minister in charge of Canada-U.S. trade is back in Washington, D.C. Dominic LeBlanc is there with Canada's chief trade negotiator, Janice Charette. Canada and other nations hit with President Donald Trump's punitive tariffs aren't the only ones upset by the trade tactics from the White House. The Trump administration is being sued for a 3rd time over those tariffs, this time by more than 24 American states. Heidi Petracek explains why they call the latest round of levies illegal.
The Court of International Trade could issue a preliminary injunction to block the tariffs.
It is a move one legal expert says could happen in the newest court challenge over U.S. President Donald Trump's latest trade tariffs. After Trump threatened 50% tariffs on Canadian products last month, he also added tariffs of up to 12.5% on 60 countries, ostensibly to address forced labor concerns.
And I think in this case, there hasn't really been much of a process or a set of evidentiary determinations by the administration.
Exactly what a coalition of 25 Democratic-led states argues in its lawsuit filed Monday against the Trump administration. Comments and testimony received by the U.S. Trade Representative, they write, underscore there is no meaningful connection between the harms caused by forced labor and tariffs as a solution.
President Trump's tariff policies are working.
That's what a senior White House trade advisor said Monday after manufacturing numbers came out, and the U.S. trade deficit did narrow slightly in June. But some industries say extra tariffs aren't helping struggling sectors like seafood.
Right now, over 90% of the shrimp in the U.S. market is imported. If a product is unavailable in the United States in sufficient supplies, it shouldn't be facing tariffs.
And agriculture.
And it does raise risk in terms of retaliation, particularly from China, which has, in fact, hurt many of our row crops, most notably soybeans.
Trump's tariff policies have already suffered 2 major legal defeats, including at the nation's highest court. This time he's relying on a trade law that has been used for tariffs before, and the White House argues is justified. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Halifax.
It appears another attempt is underway to open the Strait of Hormuz. Qatar's foreign ministry, acting as a mediator between the U.S. and Iran, says drafts of a potential agreement are being circulated. The U.S. president has issued another ultimatum, claiming this is the last chance for Iran to agree to talks. But we have seen all of this before. Jackson Prosco reports on whether it could be different this time.
As more ships reported being struck in the Strait of Hormuz, and as Iran threatened to attack U.S. Navy ships involved in the blockade, the two sides signaled a deal to de-escalate could once again be near, as mediators in Qatar try to broker diplomacy.
We can confirm that the efforts are still ongoing with all the parties. We are looking towards diplomatic resolution as we are speaking right now.
The U.S. Treasury Secretary sent markets soaring by proclaiming an agreement is practically done.
I think there is a chance we may have a deal today or tomorrow to open the strait and move towards a more normalized position in this conflict.
Iranian officials were more measured, denying any direct negotiations with the U.S., but describing positive talks with Oman to allow traffic to flow through the strait under their joint control.
I think that there's a conversation and negotiation that we are involved in between Oman and Iran.
Just days ago, a frustrated U.S. president said he was calling off an intensive new military operation against Iran at the urging of Gulf allies. Now he insists this is a make-it-or-break-it moment, like so many before it.
I want to give them every last chance before decapitation.
America's sudden interest in peace may also be driven by shortages of weapons. The Reuters news agency reports the U.S. Army has used up virtually all of its stockpiles of precision long-range missiles during the war with Iran, leaving the U.S. potentially unprepared to deter other adversaries, including China and Russia. Iran still seems to be betting it can outlast Trump's will to keep fighting, yet U.S. officials seem anxious to continually tout the possibility of a deal. Each time they do, the price of oil falls and the markets soar. Donna?
All right, Jackson Prosco in Washington. Thanks, Jackson. Ukraine has again targeted Russia's largest online retailer. Drones hit warehouses for wild berries, referred to as Russia's Amazon, including ones near St. Petersburg and Moscow. At least 5 people were killed. Ukraine believes the facilities are used to supply the Russian military. More than a dozen wild berry sites have been hit since July 18th. And Russia is accused of using a drone to attack a street vendor in Ukraine. This video posted by the Ukrainian president appears to show a Russian drone chasing a man who sells vegetables. He tries to run away as it circles his vehicle, and then the drone strikes the car where he went to hide. Ukraine is calling it a war crime. The man, who later spoke from hospital, says he suffered injuries to his back, legs, and arms. A matter of life and death. Coming up, the pressure on the Canadian government to protect a prominent Sikh leader. Plus, surprise discovery, what wildfires have unearthed in France. UN human rights experts are urging Canada to speed up investigations into threats against BC Sikh activist Moninder Singh. They've written to the Canadian government expressing serious concerns about the safety of Singh and his family. He has publicly criticized the Indian government, and as Gillian Piper reports, there are concerns the Indian government is targeting him because of that.
Down with one system! One of Canada's most prominent Sikh leaders is no stranger to death threats.
We'd rather be dead than silent at the end of the day, because at least, we're not bowing down to countries like India.
Since 2022, Moninder Singh has been warned 4 times by Canadian law enforcement that there are credible threats to his life, allegedly from agents of the Indian government who condemn his support for a separate Khalistan state in northern India.
We've seen how people are attacked in broad daylight, very aggressively as well, so the last thing I want is to be in public spaces.
The most recent threat, which included Singh's wife and 2 children, was back in February, just days before he was set to speak at the United Nations. Now, 5 UN special rapporteurs are calling on Ottawa to accelerate investigations into those allegations and to take all feasible measures at its disposal to protect Mr. Maninder Singh and his family. The letter adds that there is no publicly available evidence that any further protective and monitoring measures have been taken.
Criminal activity orchestrated by agents of the Government of India.
The RCMP claims agents of the Indian government murdered another Canadian Sikh leader, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, in 2023. Those allegations partly responsible for the establishment of a foreign influence registry, which is now live, but the new measure is not focused on criminal activity.
Our focus is really on transparency, whether it's covert, foreign interference type of activities. They would fall under the mandates of other agencies.
Singh wants Ottawa to do more and is urging the government to hold a public inquiry into Indian interference.
India won't stop until Canada takes a firm step against them, and that's what we're waiting for.
The Prime Minister's office would not tell Global News whether Mark Carney has read or responded to the UN letter or what, if any, action has been taken, but Singh says he has not received support from Ottawa and has no security. Donna?
All right, Jillian Piper in Ottawa, thanks. Ahead, a volcano erupts in Guatemala, putting the country on high alert. This is Guatemala's Fuego volcano. It has erupted, spewing lava up to 300 meters high and prompting a nationwide alert. It began erupting yesterday morning and it intensified overnight. Evacuation orders are in effect for at least 2 villages and hundreds of people have been forced to flee. The Fuego volcano sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire and is one of the most active volcanoes in Central America. More than 170 people who were attempting to cross the English Channel from France to England have been rescued after the boat they were in caught fire. The boat left France Monday night, and early this morning its engines caught fire. Coast Guards from both countries were mobilized and brought them to shore. There are no reports of injuries or deaths. The UK government says everyone on the boat will be returned to France. More than 14,000 migrants have made the crossing from France this year, 43% lower than at the same point last year. There has been a startling discovery in a French village dating back to the Second World War. More than 400 shells and munitions from that war were discovered in Le Porge this week. It was evacuated and ravaged by wildfires last month. Explosions were heard near the village during those fires. It was originally assumed to be exploding gas canisters, but it's now believed to be historic explosives that detonated because of the heat of the flames. Residents were allowed to return yesterday after authorities completed a safety sweep. Next, the simple test that researchers hope could help detect breast cancer sooner. New research is underway that could change how breast cancer is detected. A New Brunswick company has developed a quick diagnostic breath test. The method is being studied in parts of the U.S. Those tests are now expanding into Canada. Researchers hope it could help detect breast cancer sooner, especially in certain patients. Ella McDonald explains.
A new breath test could revolutionize breast cancer screening by detecting cancers earlier in women of all breast density types. Mammography, which is currently considered the gold standard screening tool, is less than 50% accurate for women with dense breasts, creating the need for supplemental ultrasounds, MRIs, and contrast-enhanced mammography.
What we're trying to do is build a test that sits between mammography, which doesn't work well for these women, and these more costly downstream tests.
The company behind the test, Breathe Biomedical, has already launched the study in facilities across the United States. Now they're expanding north, with Vitalite Health Network as their first Canadian partner. The test is quick and can be administered by anyone with minimal training. Patients simply blow 5 times into this machine,
which really only requires the amount of effort required to cool the soup on your soup spoon.
The results are then sent off to the lab for analysis. There, scientists look for patterns in the sample's volatile organic components, or VOCs.
So it's like a signature for breast cancer in your breath. And hopefully we can identify the specific pattern and be able to have a screening test or a screening tool which will be non-invasive.
The test is currently generating results at an 88% accuracy rate. Right now, participation in the study is reserved for select patients, but the goal is to one day roll out the test to the general public. An exciting possibility for advocates who have long petitioned for readily accessible supplemental screening for women with dense breasts in Atlantic Canada.
It's very exciting to see a new technology that potentially could be able to reach the masses and that would be able to find cancer early.
In a statement, Nova Scotia Health Minister Michelle Thompson writes, "We are aware of ongoing work between the Breast Health Research Unit and Breathe Biomedical to open IWK Health as a research site for their technology, pending regulatory and legal approvals."
We believe in the future that this test will be deployed in mobile settings, in fixed settings, potentially even pharmacy-based settings.
If approved, the company hopes to begin rollout by 2030. Ella MacDonald, Global News.
And that is Global National for this Tuesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Candidate is Sydney, BC. We would love to see your candidate. Please email it to globalnational@globalnews.ca. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.